I am the last in my grade with my intelligence locked. Then the system told me, if I wanted to improve my IQ and my grades, I had to bind myself to the top student in the year, my childhood friend, Willow. So I willingly became her simp. I bent over backwards to please her. Ignored her mockery and disgust. Later, I got a new deskmate. She was smart and gentle. Her smile was like sunshine. She brought me breakfast every day, and patiently helped me with my homework. But Willow hated her. She ordered me, as if it were her right, to cut ties with her. I was helpless, and in the end, I complied. But no one could have expected, when the mock exam results came out, my new deskmate had scored number 1 in the entire grade. Chapter 01. The noon after the mock exam was unbearably hot. When I brought Willow her porridge, I heard laughter from inside the classroom. A few girls were talking about me, their tone sarcastic and biting. Someone asked, "Did George really go buy medicine?" "Yeah," another replied. "I just casually said Willow wasn't feeling well, and he bolted out the door. It's like 40 degrees outside, right in the middle of the day." Someone else chimed in. "So what?" Another girl scoffed. "He's so hopelessly devoted to Willow. She could probably tell him to bark like a dog and he'd go woof woof." A quieter voice added, "Actually," she said, "George is really emotionally stable and he really respects girls. Sometimes I think he's actually a really good person." Someone teased, "Oh, you like him? Then have Willow give him to you." "Willow, would you be willing to let him go?" There was a pause. Then Willow's cold voice rang out. She said, "Shut up." She didn't sound happy. The room fell silent for a few seconds. Then someone hesitantly asked, "We lied to George and said you were sick, and he skipped class to buy you medicine. Willow, you're not mad, right?" Willow gave a dismissive snort. "What's it got to do with me?" After a pause, her tone turned lazy and aloof. "As always," she said. "That kind of idiot believes whatever anyone tells him. He deserves it." That drew a wave of laughter. The room buzzed with amusement. I looked down at the porridge and medicine in my hands. Willow had health issues. I'd seen her during her period, so pale her lips turned white, vomiting and weak. So when I heard someone say she wasn't feeling well, and saw her lying on her desk, I went out to get medicine. Turns out, I'd been tricked. I stood there, dazed, thinking. Chapter 02. There was no way I could go back to the classroom, so I found a shaded spot and sat down. I hadn't eaten yet, and my stomach was growling. The porridge was steaming, giving off a delicious smell. It smelled so good, and I was starving. I thought, since Willow wasn't actually feeling unwell, there was no need to go back in. Might as well eat the porridge myself. The next second, the system's voice suddenly rang out. It was furious. "That bitch Willow, can she even speak like a human being?" It sounded like it had been holding back for a long time. Through gritted teeth, it snarled, "George, come on, let's go slap her. I can't take it anymore. So what if she's number 1? Unbind her right now." I was just opening the porridge bag and hesitated when I heard that. I frowned. "Can I?" "But she is number 1. The system was speechless. Looking back, Willow really had been top of the grade in every single exam, so my binding partner had never changed. The system deflated again, sighing, forget it, George, just eat first. Food is important." As the warm porridge filled my stomach, I finally started to feel a bit of that emptiness and disappointment from what I'd just witnessed. I was naturally slow to react and bad at understanding emotions. I learned slowly, but forgot things quickly, so I'd always been at the bottom of the grade. It wasn't that I didn't study, I just had no talent. My dullness felt like it had been there since birth. Even after practicing the same problem 1,000 times, I'd still forget how to solve it the next time. Willow wasn't like me. She'd always been number 1, everyone's perfect child. I used to envy her, wondering how someone could be so smart. Then in high school, I suddenly got bound to a top student training system. The system said my intellect was locked by some unknown force. If I wanted to unlock it and improve my grades, I had to get close to the number 1 student. It called it, "Proximity to excellence changes you." Before my parents left, their last wish was for me to study hard and get into a good college. I didn't want to disappoint them, so I studied like crazy, but it was no use. With my grades, there was no way I'd make it to college. So even though I knew Willow looked down on me, I still stuck to her like glue. I treated her well, agreed to everything she asked, brought her umbrellas and water every day, ran errands and fetched food, because she was my bound partner. Willow was cold and sharp-tongued, with an innate arrogance. She was mean when she talked and very hard to get close to. Her moods were unpredictable. When she was in a bad mood, she'd often say things like earlier. She mocked me for being dumb, laughed at my low IQ, and called me a clingy leech. But when she was in a good mood, she'd sometimes be willing to study with me. There was even a time, on a rainy day, I gave her my umbrella and was about to run home in the rain. She suddenly grabbed my arm and pulled me under the umbrella with her. The street lamp that day glowed a warm, soft yellow. It lit up her bright eyes and elegant features with a gentle hue. She complained, "George, you're so dumb. This umbrella's big enough for 2, you know." Her body warmth spread from my palm to my whole body. We walked side by side in the rain. I didn't really know what the system meant by intimate contact, so I just tried to treat her as well as I could, hoping to grow closer to her. But before that, nothing had worked, until that umbrella moment when Willow held onto me and moved in close. My heart pounded like crazy, and for the first time, I felt like I might actually be getting smarter. When I got home, I didn't forget what I studied quite as fast. Sure enough, a few days later during the monthly test, my rank jumped up more than 10 spots. I went from dead last to 20th from the bottom. I may be dumb, but I'm not clueless. I actually didn't like Willow. She was bossy, spoiled, and her words were always cruel. Getting close to Willow was never about feelings, it was about raising my grades. I was using her, even though the system said that me getting smarter wouldn't affect Willow in any way. My parents had always taught me not to take advantage of others for free. I kept thinking I needed to repay her somehow. Besides, the system told me I couldn't tell anyone about it. I had to keep it a secret, so no matter how often Willow lost her temper, I didn't really mind. But today was different. I only went out to buy her porridge and medicine because I was worried about her. The moment I ran out of school, I didn't think about her being my binding partner. I just thought, she's my friend, and I couldn't just watch a friend suffer. When we were kids, she'd always look at me with disgust and say, "You're as dumb as a pig. I'm not gonna be friends with a pig." So I stayed away from her. But when we got older, she shared her umbrella with me once, and I thought we were friends. But that was just what I thought. I didn't need the system to tell me. When she said those things today, it was clear she never saw me as her friend. Willow had never changed. Chapter 03. After finishing the porridge, I slung my backpack over my shoulder and returned to the classroom. Most of the students were napping, but Willow was sitting in her seat, staring off into space. She looked a little upset, her flawless face tense with a slight frown. But when she saw me, her expression softened a bit. In a low voice, she asked, "Where did you go?" I answered truthfully, "Went out to buy something." Her brows eased further, and she gave a faint snort, then asked, "Where's the porridge and medicine?" I looked at her. I really wanted to ask, if you didn't need them, then why are you even asking me for them? But I figured there was no point. Compared to the system's rage, I was actually feeling calm, because, truthfully, I didn't care that much. Willow wasn't really my friend. However she treated me didn't affect me deeply. As long as she remained number one, I'd keep binding to her, for the sake of improving my grades. My reactions are slow, and I don't really know how to respond to emotions people direct at me. That tiny trace of disappointment I felt earlier had already blown away like dust. I said, "I drank it," then added sincerely, "Next time you actually need it, I'll get it for you." She looked a little surprised, then her gaze darkened. She seemed like she wanted to say something but ended up staying silent. I had already walked past her when she suddenly snapped, "George, I want breakfast from Chaoyang Pavilion tomorrow." Chaoyang Pavilion was a super popular dim sum place. I'd have to get up at 5 in the morning to stand in line. The system was grinding its teeth in my head, practically exploding with rage. "George, don't go. Let her starve. And you still want to get her breakfast. Pour boiling water on her. Listen to me, we don't need anyone. We can become the top student by ourselves." I was speechless. The top student? Me. I didn't want to kill the system's enthusiasm, so I comforted it. "It's fine. I like Chaoyang Pavilion too. If I go buy breakfast, I can grab an extra for myself." When I got back to my seat, I noticed the neighboring desk was covered in dust. So I pulled out a wet wipe and cleaned it off. Willow saw and her expression turned sour. In a mocking tone, she said, "Always doing useless things. No wonder you always score so low. With the time you waste, you could have done 2 practice problems and maybe gotten 1 or 2 more points." I didn't know why she was mad again, but I just answered with a light, "Oh." The system was fuming. She didn't even want to sit with you in the first place. But now that someone else sat next to you, she throws a tantrum. She's just jealous Anna got a guaranteed admission offer and now she's picking fights out of spite. Originally, I didn't have a desk mate. Then a transfer student arrived this term, a girl wearing a mask, with stunning eyes. The first time we met, she smiled and asked if she could sit beside me. She was smart and gentle, incredibly understanding. She was willing to study with me, patiently explain problems, and never said a harsh word. But she seemed to be ill, always wearing a mask, coughing now and then, and her voice was a bit hoarse. I helped her a few times with cleaning duty, and that whole week, she brought me breakfast every day. Her name was Anna. For some reason, Willow hated her. Every time she saw me talking to Anna, her expression turned ugly. Eventually, one day, Willow demanded, like it was her right, that I stay away from Anna. I asked her why. She just said, "No reason." Then asked if I still wanted to study with her or not. I had no choice but to agree. That night, I tossed and turned for hours, not knowing how to explain it to Anna. She was the first real friend I'd made in a long time. Fortunately, I didn't have to distance myself from her, because Anna stopped coming after that day. The teacher said she'd already received a guaranteed admission and was focusing on other things now. Willow looked at me and said coolly, George, about you wanting to sit with me again, I've thought it over. As long as you don't annoy me, I'm fine with it. Once the test scores are out tomorrow, go talk to the teacher and move back to my side. I said nothing, because honestly, sitting next to Anna made me a lot happier than sitting next to Willow. But Anna wasn't coming back, and tomorrow, when the results come out, Willow will still be my binding partner. The college entrance exam is right around the corner. I have to get into university. I lowered my head and nodded quietly. Chapter 04. Today was the day the mock exam results came out. I got up early to line up for breakfast. When I walked into school with food in hand, I was still half asleep. The results sheet had just been posted on the bulletin board, and only a few people had gathered in front of it. I was just about to head over when a gentle voice, full of quiet laughter, rang out beside me, like the bubbling stream of spring. Good morning, George. I turned my head and saw a tall, graceful figure standing beside me. A soft, elegant girl smiled at me, even in the plain, outdated white school uniform. She looked fresh and striking. That face was unforgettable. Yet I couldn't recall ever seeing her before. But when my eyes met those beautiful and familiar ones, I hesitated and said, Anna. She smiled. Long time no see. I felt a little happy. You're back at school? She nodded. Yeah, I finished up some things over there, she said, stepping closer. Her smile was like a breeze in summer. So I came back to take the exam a couple of days ago. While we talked, more and more people gathered in front of the bulletin board, and the noise grew louder. Holy crap. Someone suddenly shouted. Then another voice said, why isn't Willow first this time? Who's Anna? A third chimed in. You mean Anna, the guaranteed admission student? I think I saw her during the exam. The chatter grew louder. My eyes widened slowly. I looked at the delicate, stunning girl in front of me, dazed. You're the top student this time. The system screamed with joy in my mind. Finally, we don't have to put up with Willow anymore. Change the binding. Done and done. I stared at Anna, still in shock. Anna curled her lips into a soft smile. If there isn't someone else with the same name, then I suppose it's me. She didn't seem to care much and casually changed the topic. It's still early. Want to have breakfast together? Breakfast. I looked down instantly at the shrimp dumplings and dried scallop porridge in my hand. The aroma was rich and mouth-watering, definitely better than cafeteria food. I asked, would you eat this? Without hesitation, I held out the bag and said, here, let's share. She blinked, a little surprised. Are you sure? Then she smiled, eyes curving. Then I'll bring you breakfast tomorrow too. Okay. Willow had never said anything like that to me. She never brought me breakfast. She never even asked if I had eaten. I didn't know how to react, but it felt like something inside me had sprouted, like warmth pushing through the cracks, slowly spreading its branches through my body. The system immediately opened a glowing screen in front of me. Please confirm rebinding. Change binding partner from Willow Anna. I replied. Confirm. It was done. Looking at Anna, I smiled and nodded. Okay, George. A familiar voice suddenly sounded behind me. I turned around. A group of girls from class, the same ones who had gossiped yesterday, were standing behind me with varied expressions. Willow stood in the center. Who knows how long she had been watching? Her face was dark, almost stormy. She stared at the breakfast I was handing to Anna and bit her lip. Then, in a commanding tone, she said, give it to me. In the past, I would have done whatever she asked, even when I didn't want to. But Willow never cared whether I wanted to or not. I shook my head. I'm going to have breakfast. Willow looked stunned, like it was the first time she'd ever heard me refuse her. She froze for a moment, but she quickly recovered. Raising her chin and speaking coldly with a threatening edge, she snorted, George, I'm giving you one last chance. The last time she spoke to me like that, she ignored me for 2 full weeks. She wouldn't let me near her. She threw away everything I brought her. She knew that ignoring me worked. I always gave in first. That's why she kept using it. Lots of people were watching. I didn't feel like wasting time. I turned my head and looked at Anna. Let's go. At that moment, something cracked in Willow's eyes. She instinctively stepped forward, like she wanted to call out to me, but stopped herself. She stared at me for a few seconds, then turned around without a word and walked away. Chapter 05. The shrimp dumplings were delicious, and the seafood congee was rich and savory. On the way back to the classroom after breakfast, Anna asked me, did you have a fight with your friend? I nodded, then thought for a second and shook my head. To be honest, one-sided friendship isn't really friendship. And besides, I didn't think of her as a friend anymore. Anna looked thoughtful. Is it because of me? I quickly shook my head. No. Willow always had some reason or another to be upset. This time, it was probably because I didn't give her the breakfast I brought. It had nothing to do with Anna. She said, good. Then she asked again. This morning you looked like you were in a bad mood. Do you feel a little better now? I looked like I was in a bad mood. I didn't even realize. I thought about it for a moment, then sighed. Maybe because the exam results came out. There are 54 people in our class. I ranked 41st this time, and that was after studying every night before the test. Anna's a good student too. She'd probably look down on me like Willow did. I closed my eyes and pressed my fingers to my brow. The system spoke up. It's okay, George. You've already made progress. It tried to comfort me. You need to remember, you're not stupid. You've just been locked away. Don't take what others say to heart. It doesn't matter. Understand? Just try to let things go. Okay, if anyone mocks you, then you should just. Before it could finish, Anna spoke. I saw the results too. You've improved a lot compared to last time. She tilted her head slightly to look at me. Her clear, gentle eyes shimmered with sincere warmth, like a breeze in spring. She said, "Next time, let's review together. Maybe you'll improve even more." I asked, "Really?" She replied, "Why not?" Then added, "But can you promise me one thing first?" I blinked. "What is it?" Turning her back to the homeroom teacher, she discreetly took out a phone, a banned item at school, and gave it the tiniest wave. In a low voice, she said, "Since I ate the breakfast you brought today, can we it? Let me send you the money." I was about to instinctively say you don't have to, but the moment I met her eyes, the words caught in my throat. Anna had the kind of eyes that made it impossible to say no. I hesitated for a few seconds, then nodded. The girl tilted her head slightly and smiled at me. It was like spring had arrived, and all the green fields were coming back to life. Chapter 06. Anna's return stirred quite a buzz in our class. After all, she had come out of nowhere to take the top spot in the grade. Even after being away from school for so long, she still scored that high. During breaks, a lot of students from other classes even came by to catch a glimpse of her, but she didn't seem affected by it at all. Maybe she was just used to being watched. When I came back from the restroom, I overheard some classmates chatting in the hallway. Someone said, "I totally didn't expect Anna to be so pretty. She always wore a mask before, so I never noticed." Another replied, "Top 1 and 2 in the grade are both from our class. Our homeroom teacher's probably grinning nonstop." Someone else added, "She's alright, but I still think Willow's better looking." Another voice responded, "Come on, they're completely different styles. You just like the cold, distant, ice queen type." Someone noticed me and asked, "Hey George, what do you think? Who's the prettiest girl in our class?" One person chimed in, "No question, Willow grew up with George, right? He's gotta be on her side." Another teased, "Please, Anna's his deskmate. He sees her up close all day, he'd know better." They started bickering again, and eventually, they all turned to look at me. "So, George, what do you think?" I hesitated. I really didn't want to compare Anna and Willow. Seeing me silent, one of them chuckled. "Come on, don't make it hard for George. Everyone knows he likes Willow. You know how it is, beauty's in the eye of the lover, right? He's definitely." I don't. I cut him off abruptly, then repeated myself more firmly. "I don't like Willow." I rolled my shoulder. Willow had always looked down on me. She never wanted anything to do with me. I was only sticking close to her for my own reasons. But now, with a new binding partner, I could finally do as she wished and stay away from her. It was a relief for her, too. The guy froze. He stared past me, eyes wide. I followed his gaze and saw Willow standing behind me, looking extremely unhappy. She seemed like she wanted to say something, or maybe she was just waiting for me to say something. But I had nothing to say to her, so I stepped back to make room for her to pass. A few seconds later, Willow walked right past me without sparing me a single glance. She'd been acting like this all week, like she wanted to draw a clean line between us. We hadn't said a word to each other since the exam results came out. The air around us dropped several degrees as soon as she showed up, and the classmates nearby awkwardly scattered. The system muttered, "Ugh, I hate people who throw attitude like that, always acting like the world owes them something. So what if she's pretty?" Then, seeing I wasn't moving, its tone softened. "George, you okay?" I blinked, snapping out of it. "I'm fine." It just felt strange. Willow always hated me. Shouldn't she be happy to hear what I said? Then why did she look even angrier? But I didn't think about it for long. The moment passed quickly, because I saw Anna at her seat, completely focused on writing something. All the noise around her seemed to fade away. She sat quietly in the sunlight, her profile soft and composed like a painting. As if sensing my gaze, Anna looked up. She seemed a little surprised, raised her eyebrows slightly, then gave me a gentle smile, and for some reason, I suddenly felt a strange urge to turn and flee, like I'd been caught staring red-handed. When I got back to my seat, I realized that a warm flush had crept up from the tips of my ears, and my heartbeat seemed to skip a beat. Still slightly dazed, I saw Anna push a sheet of paper toward me. She said, "Look, these are the same types of questions you got wrong on your homework yesterday. I organized the solutions and marked them all. It should help with your review." Since Anna returned, she had been studying with me every day, helping me review. I felt a little embarrassed, but Anna said she had plenty of time and that it made her happy to be able to help me. I couldn't find the words to respond right away. After a long moment, I finally murmured, "I think I'm troubling you too much." She replied, "Not at all, actually. I need your help." Anna looked up at me, her voice carrying a hint of nervousness. "I just accepted a tutoring job, but I don't have any experience. Could you be my practice student? Let me rehearse my lessons with you. Of course I'd love to, I answered quickly. As long as you don't mind that I'm kind of slow at understanding things. Anna shook her head. Not at all. You're way smarter than the student I'm supposed to be tutoring. I froze, eyes widening in shock. That was honestly the first time in my life someone had ever called me smart. I figured she was just being polite, but when I looked into her clear, sincere eyes, that thought disappeared almost immediately. I scolded myself internally. Anna's not the kind of person who would say something she didn't mean. The system chimed in. Exactly, George. Anna's got way more positive energy than Willow. These past few days, your intelligence has been unlocking fast, you're improving way more quickly than before. Even the system was acknowledging me now, to be honest. I had felt it too, solving problems had gotten easier. But this was the first time someone had genuinely recognized me like this, and I couldn't help but feel excited. I asked, really? Anna blinked, like she'd zoned out for a second, but after just a moment, she came back to herself, raised her hand, and gently tapped my forehead with her fingertip. The golden sunlight shimmered across her profile, highlighting her features with a soft glow, radiant and charming. She said, "Of course it's true," then added, "Don't you believe me?" Her warm fingertips had barely touched my skin before they pulled away, but in that instant, the system's exclamations, the whispers from the front row, the laughter in the back, all of it faded into meaningless background noise. The world in front of me felt like it had just been rinsed clean by water, suddenly clear and bright. A strange feeling surged into my mind, completely out of my control. Bang! A loud crash jolted me out of my near trance. Gasps filled the room. Are you okay? What happened? Why'd the cup suddenly fall? Is Willow all right? Whoa, she's bleeding, another voice said. She needs to go to the infirmary and get that bandaged. I turned around and saw that Willow had dropped her cup. It had shattered on the floor. She was staring at the shards, eyes tinged with something like resentment. Her expression was hard to read, but her hand looked injured. Blood was slowly oozing out. One of the girls beside her glanced around, and when she saw me, her eyes lit up. Hey, George, Willow's hurt. Can you take her to the infirmary? Willow looked over at me but didn't say anything to stop her. Why me? I didn't get it, but I rejected the request without hesitation. You take her. I don't have time. The girl froze mid-smile, glancing at me, then back at Willow, clearly embarrassed, but I'd already turned away. Not interested anymore, to be honest. I'd just had a moment of real clarity. Like something had clicked, an epiphany. I felt like I had actually gotten smarter this time. I needed to test that by studying. As soon as I thought of that, everything else faded from my mind. I focused hard on reviewing my notebook of mistakes. When I ran into something I didn't understand, I leaned toward Anna to ask her. The classroom was noisy. I couldn't quite hear, so I moved a bit closer, and didn't notice the subtle pause in her movement. Once we finished going through the question, I felt a rush of satisfaction. For the first time, solving a problem felt smooth and effortless. Excited, I looked up, and saw her cheeks flushed red. I immediately panicked and asked, "Is it too hot today? I'll bring a little fan for you tomorrow." Anna seemed a bit slow to respond, then softly replied, "Okay." Her face looked even redder now. Anna really doesn't handle heat well. Chapter 07. Right before another exam began, I was suddenly called into the teacher's office. My homeroom teacher asked me kindly, "George, how have your studies been going lately?" Teachers often feel a sense of frustration when dealing with underachieving students, but my teachers always approached me with encouragement. I answered honestly, "Pretty good. Aside from being a bit tired, the feeling of absorbing knowledge at such a fast pace was something I had never experienced before. I no longer forgot what I learned so quickly. Every day felt fulfilling and joyful." The homeroom teacher said, "Didn't you say before that you wanted to switch seats? I've thought about it, and I'm going to give you a new seat." She looked at me, then added earnestly, "George, people are different. Some kids already have a bright future ahead of them. They can afford to take it easy now, but you're different. You still have to go through a tough selection process. This is a long-distance run you can't afford to stop. I know you've worked really hard already, and I don't want your efforts to be in vain. Do you understand what I mean?" There was genuine concern and care in her eyes. At first, I was confused, but as she spoke, realization dawned on me. I understood what she meant. She was worried that Anna and I were in a romantic relationship. But that raised another question. My interactions with Anna weren't even as close as they used to be with Willow. Most of the time, Anna and I just studied together during self-study periods. So why would the teacher suddenly think we were dating? It had to be that someone deliberately told her so. Anna was the most intelligent, exceptional, and gentle girl I had ever met. Even if it meant not sitting next to her anymore, I couldn't let anyone gossip about her like that. The solution was simple. I just needed to tell the teacher that once the exam results came out, I was confident I'd show great improvement. But I also wanted to know who had made up the lie. So I asked, "Teacher, who will I be sitting next to then?" Completely unaware of what I was thinking, she replied, "Didn't you and Willow grow up together? She's in a new study group now. I'll add you to it. You can sit with her. Willow. She went to the teacher behind my back. I found it utterly absurd. Chapter 08. This class was PE. Walking out of the office, I saw Willow standing in front of Anna, saying something to her. Anna's expression was calm, but the usual warmth in her smile had cooled a little. She looked a bit unhappy, and Willow was squinting, wearing an expression of disdain. I strode over and stepped directly between them, confronting Willow. What are you trying to do? Willow froze, staring at me in astonishment as I clenched my teeth. The corner of her mouth twitched like she wanted to laugh, but in the end, she didn't. Her voice was cold and mocking as she replied, "What could I possibly be doing?" I glanced back at Anna and said to Willow, "Let's talk." Anna frowned slightly, but after seeing my expression, she let out a soft sigh and gently said, "Then I'll head in first." Willow silently followed me up to the rooftop. No one else was around. I went straight to the point. "You were the one who went to the office and made up those baseless rumors, weren't you?" I asked. "Willow, why did you do that?" She frowned. "Rumors? Search your heart, are those really rumors?" Her angry tone threw me off a little. I replied, "What does any of this have to do with you?" "George," Willow said as if she had reached her limit. "Can you just stop already?" I was speechless. She continued, "You got close to Anna and deliberately ignored me. Wasn't it just to piss me off?" Willow said, her voice tinged with grievance. "Fine, I admit it worked, but don't you think that's childish?" I didn't know how to respond. What she was saying was getting more and more confusing. Then she said, "If you want me to apologize for that thing with the medicine, I will." She paused, her tone awkward. "But after this, I want you to cut ties with Anna completely." "I won't act like that again," I interrupted her, frustrated. "Hold on, what are you even talking about?" Willow was getting more and more ridiculous, and the moment she dragged Anna into it, she crossed a line. I'd always been patient, but now I couldn't help but cut her off. I frowned and said, "No, Willow, do you even hear yourself? Anna is my seatmate. She's my friend. And you're just a regular classmate. Got it? Whatever happens between Anna and me is none of your business. Also, sorry, but I don't have the time or energy to mess with you on purpose. Weren't you the one who said I was annoying? Well, now I'm just too lazy to talk to you or listen to your nonsense. And you don't need to apologize either. Let's just go back to how things were, completely ignoring each other. That works fine." As she listened, Willow's expression changed little by little. Her voice trembled. "Regular classmate," she repeated in disbelief. "You're saying we're just regular classmates? Doesn't everyone know you used to like me?" I replied, "I don't like you." I looked her in the eyes and repeated, word by word, "Willow, I don't like you, not even a little." Feelings like liking were once too complicated for the old me to understand, but now I knew I didn't like Willow. There had only been a moment of hesitation. That rainy night we stood under the umbrella together. I had thought she saw me as a friend, but she didn't. That was all there was to it. After I finished speaking, Willow stared at me in disbelief, blank and dazed. I let her look calmly. Willow examined my face carefully, trying to find any trace of a lie, but there was none. I wasn't lying. Suddenly, she let out a cold smile and asked with no warmth in her voice, "Did you fall for Anna?" Denial almost slipped out of my mouth, but Willow seemed to see the answer in my eyes. She asked slowly, word by word, "George, we've been childhood friends for 10 years. Anna's only been around for how long? And now she's all you see. For all these years, we were together day and night, you were always by my side. But just when I got used to your presence, you left without hesitation and never looked back. Is that fair?" Her hoarse voice startled the birds on the rooftop into flight. She screamed, "Tell me, is that fair? Have you been fair to me?" I looked at her quietly for a long while. That old, helpless sorrow from the past began to rise again, slow and heavy, like the deep ocean threatening to drown me. I said, "Willow, that was never being there for each other. Thank God, I never cared about her that much." I continued, "We did grow up together, yes, but you never looked at me properly. You always thought I was dumb, just an annoying little tag-along. So you tried everything to shake me off. When we were kids, I brought you your favorite snacks and looked for you, and you told me we were going to play hide and seek. You made me stay in that abandoned wooden shed, said you'd come back, but I waited all day. Later, I found out you had already left with your friends, taking the snacks. I get it. To someone like you, a fool like me deserved to be played with. Then, as we got older, you became the top student, and you didn't want anyone knowing you had a dumb childhood friend like me. What did you tell your friends? That I was stupid, a waste of space, that even a pig had more brains than me. And later still, you'd always throw tantrums with me. Remember that time you ignored me for 2 weeks, then suddenly texted me to come pick you up from KTV? I thought you had finally forgiven me. I rushed over and waited the whole night, only for you to tell me the next day that it was your best friend who borrowed your phone and sent that message. You liked to eat certain things, wanted certain gifts. I would run for miles to get them for you. But what I liked, what I wanted to do, none of that mattered. You humiliated me with your words, ordered me to cut ties with my friends, forced me to do everything I didn't want to do. When I was little, I was stupid. Even when you crossed every line, as long as you smiled, I'd still play with you. When I grew up, I distanced myself, but after my parents passed away, your mother treated me kindly. Out of gratitude, I helped you with whatever you asked. In high school, you became my binder. I wanted to fulfill my parents' wishes. I wanted to get smarter, so I kept silently following behind you. I spoke slowly, my voice calm. Willow, do you really think someone like me could fall in love with someone like you? And even if you believed I had feelings for you, you stomped all over them. So no, that wasn't companionship. True companionship is mutual. This was never mutual all along. It was just me trailing behind you. Willow's face grew paler and paler, until finally, it was as white as paper. She looked at me. She wanted to speak, to argue, but nothing came out. I said, we've known each other for 10 years, but we're not even friends. We weren't before, we aren't now, and we never will be. I pulled open the rooftop door and walked down without looking back. Someone was leaning against the wall by the stairwell, reading a book. Hearing the sound, she lifted her eyes to look at me. She smiled at me, like spring returning to the earth, everything in her gaze bright and calm. A dull, heavy feeling welled up in my chest. That denial I hadn't spoken earlier was now buried deep, becoming a secret I couldn't bring myself to say. I said, Anna, you were waiting here for me. She replied softly, I just went to see the teacher. Closing her book with a light smile, she added, it seems our class is starting a study group. I applied for one too. I thought for a moment and asked, so who's in our group? Anna paused a few seconds, then blinked at me playfully and said, for now, you're the only member. I tried to hide how I felt, but the smile still spilled from the corners of my lips. With a light tone, I said, the exam's tomorrow. I won't embarrass our group. Maybe it was the heat. Her cheeks flushed pink again. In a quiet voice, she said, you were never the kind of person who'd embarrass anyone. Chapter 09. The results from the monthly exam were released. For the first time, I ranked in the top half of the entire grade, no longer calculated from the bottom, but from the top. Because of that, the homeroom teacher publicly praised me in front of the whole class, and the seat change matter naturally faded away. The system informed me that my intelligence had now reached the level of a typical person. Getting into college wouldn't be a problem. In fact, if I kept improving at this rate, I might even break into the top 10 of the grade. But I had already made up my mind. If I ever had to bind with Willow again, I'd rather not unlock intelligence at all. I'd rely on myself. Anna was still ranked first in the grade. Her score was even higher than the last time. In stark contrast was Willow. She dropped from second place all the way to 19th, a massive fall, especially for someone like her. I wasn't surprised. I didn't care either. Willow never came to talk to me again. Sometimes she would space out while staring in my direction, but once I noticed, she would look away. We were back to ignoring each other completely. Senior year was a race against time, except for Anna, who seemed unusually relaxed. Everyone else was giving it their all. I actually knew that Anna didn't even need to be at school, let alone take any exams. But I also knew that if Anna participated in the college entrance exam, our school would have one more high scorer, maybe even the highest scorer in the entire province. Her willingness to take the exam was a way to bring honor to the school. No one would stop her. So whatever Anna did during class, the teachers pretended not to notice. Instead, they asked after her health with concern. Whenever I was near Anna, I could feel myself getting smarter, and that made me work even harder. Until one day, I studied too late into the night and fell asleep on my desk during early morning self-study. When I woke up, I found Anna staring at me. Her eyes were focused, and her lips were curved in the most beautiful smile. I stared at her, dazed, not quite sure what was happening. Then, as if suddenly realizing something, she shot to her feet in a panic and blurted out that she was going to fetch some water, then ran out of the classroom. Blushing, the system commented, Anna stared at this page for 30 minutes. She kept secretly watching you. I was still looking at Anna's back. Even the breeze seemed fond of her, lifting a wisp of hair by her ear. Golden light danced within it. I was a little distracted. The system teased, you've got good taste, kid. So, when are you going to confess? I finally came to my senses and replied seriously. Don't talk nonsense. This is appreciation. Okay, appreciation. It snorted. Sure, I'll shut up. Let's see how long you two can keep holding it in after the college entrance exam. I've always been slow to process emotions. So even now, with my heart racing and heat rushing to my skin in a flood of unfamiliar feelings, I had no idea how to react. A cool breeze swept across my face. Anna came back with the water. The panic from earlier was gone. She held a little portable fan in front of me and asked, a little worried, is it too hot? I wanted to say no. But for some reason, that line felt strangely familiar. We sat side by side in the classroom. The only sounds were the soft scratching of pens and the whirring of the little fan. No one spoke, but time felt like it was stretching endlessly. Chapter 10. The day I made it into the top 50 of the grade for the first time, Auntie Lou invited me over for dinner. Auntie Lou is Willow Lou's mother. She raised her on her own. Back then, our families were neighbors. The three adults were all busy with work, and we didn't interact much. But Auntie Lou is one of those people who's cold on the outside but warm on the inside. Ever since my parents died in an accident, she's often looked after me. On the rare occasions I went home, she'd invite me over for dinner. This was the first time Willow and I sat at the same table since our fallout. Auntie Lou clearly sensed something was off, but she didn't say anything. It wasn't until Willow stepped outside to take out the trash that she let out a long sigh. She said, "George, Willow told me you've made a lot of progress in your studies lately. I hope you get into the university you've been aiming for." I thanked her sincerely. She added, "And I hope you'll always live a happy life." Willow and I left together, one in front, one behind, neither of us speaking. I didn't know what to say to her. Back then, no matter what I talked to Willow about, she rarely seemed interested, and would even mock me. An elderly man by the roadside had dropped a bag full of oranges. I stopped to help pick them up. Willow crouched down and helped too. Then she suddenly spoke. "I remember once we saw an old lady fall in the street. No one paid her any attention, except George, who ran over like a fool and helped her up. Back then, she thought George was incredibly dumb. Wasn't that just meddling? That kind of useless kindness would only end up hurting yourself or others. So she turned around and walked away." Willow said. "Actually, I'd seen her before. That old lady used to hang around there, trying to scam people." The old man thanked us profusely and gave me a plump orange. Holding the orange in my hand, I said, "It doesn't matter. Someone still has to hold the line between right and wrong. If she really was in trouble and I helped, then it was a good thing. If she was faking it, even better, because that means the world has one less person who's truly suffering. But don't get me wrong, if she tried to scam me, I wouldn't just let it go. I'd make sure she paid the price. That's just the kind of person I am. That's my nature. Or like you said, maybe I'm just that foolish, and I won't change." Willow fell silent for a long, long time. Then she suddenly said, "I'm sorry." From a very early age, Willow had a bullet aimed straight at her heart, a bullet named arrogance. She'd had countless chances to redirect its path, but she just stood there, eyes wide open, watching it pierce through her chest and shatter everything inside. And the truth was, she had cherished it. She had wanted to walk forward with George, but she thought George was dumb, too uptight. Even though he always seemed to obey her without limits, no matter how bossy or unreasonable she was, he'd just quietly do as she said. She could never get him to share her worldview, to agree with what she believed was right. But if she had just been a little gentler, a little more honest, a little more respectful, would they still be strangers with nothing left to say? Willow thought of those days when they were just innocent kids. Now, it all felt like it belonged to a previous life. She looked at me and said again, "I'm sorry." The regret and pain haunted her constantly, reminding her how ridiculous she had been. After George left, she finally realized just how important he was to her. Like a miser who handed over a mountain of gold with her own hands, only to regret it every night afterward. She said, "I'm sorry," over and over again, but I only said it once. "It's okay." I waved my hand. "It's okay," because I had stopped caring a long time ago. Not far away, under the streetlight, someone was waiting for me. Anna. My eyes lit up as I quickened my pace to reach her. "Have you been waiting long?" She shook her head. Her bright eyes reflected the warm glow of the streetlight like a winter sun. "I just got here," she said. "Let's go then," I said with a smile. I even left some room in my stomach for barbecue. She nodded. "Got it." She leaned in close to my ear, paused for a few seconds in thought, and said, "Want to take a walk first? We could review some vocab while we're at it." "Sure," I said. I looked down at Anna, and I could see the joy hidden in her eyes. Anna was the best girl I had ever met. I changed her contact name to a little sun icon. To me, Anna didn't feel like autumn. She felt like spring. Chapter 11. In the final mock exam before the college entrance exam, I ranked 10th in the entire grade. For the past year, I had been improving every single day. With each exam, my ranking edged a little higher than the last. My story, from being dead last to breaking into the top 10, became something the teachers loved to talk about. I had practically become a miracle at no one high school in a city. Every day, students from other classes would come to see me, bow to me like it was a ritual, and claim that doing so would bring them the blessing of the exam god. I was still working hard, studying late every night, because in the past, no matter how hard I tried, I never saw results. But now, after becoming smarter, I realized that effort actually brought progress, and I cherished this ability to learn more than anything. In this intense atmosphere, even the system was too scared to speak. All it did was silently skin my body every day to make sure I wasn't suddenly falling ill. And then, the college entrance exam arrived, just as scheduled. After estimating my score, the system let out a long sigh of relief, its voice trembling with emotion. It said, "George, you did it." That wasn't easy. I went up the mountain to visit my parents. I laid a bouquet of fresh calla lilies in front of their grave. I spoke with them for a long time, told them so many things. Finally, I gently touched the two smiling faces in the photo and said, "Mom, Dad, I can get into a good university now. I finally fulfilled your wish. The system was silent for a while, then said softly, they can hear you, Anne. I'll always stay by your side too. I nodded with a smile. That's enough. Chapter 12. The top student training system had a secret. This world was a book, and in that book, there was a supporting male character. He was the one the heroine held in her heart. That's why he was too righteous and died young. The creator gave him a pure and innocent heart, but was so stingy that it locked away all his intelligence, because it was a god obsessed with studying human emotions. In its story, the male lead would gradually unlock his mind and consciousness simply by being close to the fate-blessed heroine. Unfortunately, the story's arc led to the two of them parting ways for all kinds of reasons, and the male lead, having lost the heroine, was destined to die young. Many years later, only when the heroine finally awakened did she realize what she had missed. But the characters in the book had begun to grow flesh and blood. The will of a god could no longer bind the hearts of mortals. There was once an ordinary pair of parents, who sank into despair after their son's untimely death. In their numb grief, they discovered the truth of the world. They poured all of their remaining willpower into storing one last spark of consciousness, using their lives as fuel to send this fragment of chaotic awareness back to a time long before. That day, the chaotic awareness looked at their beloved child and said, "Hi, George. All things have spirit." The boy with the pure heart had given much kindness to the world, and so, the world was willing to return a little of it. The system was astonished to find that the flow of fate had shifted. Some people, some objects, are favored by the energies of heaven and earth, but they are still subject to the bias of the creator, and thus doomed to fall. That dying soul was like a flame on the verge of going out. But then, one day, something changed. The boy who gave the heroine an umbrella noticed a soaked girl by the roadside. He took off his jacket, left his umbrella beside her, placed a bottle of warm milk at her feet, and asked, "Do you need help?" But he had done so many good deeds in his life, he had forgotten her. From the very beginning, the system had known that this girl outside the storyline had returned to repay a kindness. She was originally fated to die, and yet, without hesitation, she gave all of her life's energy, her chi, to him. And another variable emerged. The heroine disqualified herself, willingly gave up part of her own fate. So now, the once doomed and the soon-to-die had both become people of uncertain destiny. As the story progressed, even the god who loved to observe human emotion grew curious about what would happen next. It said, "A gamble's a gamble. I'll accept the outcome." It seemed that human love could indeed move mountains and fill oceans, could even break through time itself. There were too many variables in the world. Even a dying flame longed to burn once more, to become the sun in the dark dreams of the one she loved. And so, the god made an exception. It plucked a bouquet of fresh calla lilies from the world of the male lead, and delivered them to the grieving couple. It said, "That fragment of awareness will now carry a piece of my power, eternal and undying, and will stay by his side. In your place, this book is about to collapse. I will now return their freedom. In return, will you stay with me and watch the end of the story?" With tears in their eyes, they said, "Yes, my child. Study hard. Do your best to get into a good university, because only then can we be sure that you've truly broken free of the ending that was once written for you." The answer lies hidden in the book. Maybe, in some distant and unreachable future, you'll cross the walls of time and space, bridge the gap between life and death, and hold our hands, still warm with the last traces of memory. We miss you. Chapter 13. On the day the college entrance exam results were released, Anna and I sat together. The little fan hummed softly beside us. I was nervous, too nervous to even look at the score. For some reason, Anna looked a bit nervous too. Even the system, unusually, was completely silent. 1 subject, 2 subjects, 3. When the final score appeared in full, the system's cheer was the first thing I heard. "George, you're amazing. I'm so proud of you," Anna said. "Congratulations." She let out a soft breath of relief, turned to look at me, her beautiful bright eyes full of joy. "You did it." I've always been slow to process emotions, so the denial I had buried deep in my heart, the one I hadn't dared to speak out loud, finally broke free today, and stood in front of me, demanding an answer. "Do you like Anna?" "No, I don't." Lies. I was too scared to admit it. But now, can I like her now? "Why not?" "I like her." My heart pounded. I was nervous, but I still said with conviction, "Anna, I." She looked at me, her gaze as soft as water. I clenched my teeth and said, "I." She was still patiently waiting, and I blurted out, "I want to go to the same university as you." The moment I said it, I was full of regret. Seriously, that's what I ended up saying. Why does my mouth always betray me at the most crucial moment? Anna blinked and said, "Sure, our scores are good enough for that." Then she gave a soft laugh and suddenly leaned in closer. She smelled faintly of lavender. She said, "Well, if you won't say it, then I will." My heartbeat, which had just calmed down in her familiar scent, suddenly nearly exploded from the next words. "George," Anna said softly, I like you. So much that I don't even know what kind of adverb could describe it. I stared at her in confusion. Anne, what kind of adverb would that be? Anna replied without hesitation. I like George, just like George likes the world. In Anna's eyes, George was a guardian of what was right. He worked hard because he loved the world. He was stubborn because he approached everything with kindness. Anna was part of that world. And yet, she was the one he favored. So however much George loved the world, that's how much Anna loved him. I looked at Anna in a daze. Then I reached out and hugged her. I could hear her heartbeat, even faster than mine. I wanted to find the perfect metaphor to describe how I felt. So I said, Anna, I like you too. She looked up at me quietly, listening intently. I said, I like Anna more than I like tomorrow. I look forward to tomorrow, to clear skies, to everything getting better. So I look forward to the sun. The sun belongs to tomorrow, but Anna belongs to me. Anna is my sun. She appeared today. The clouds scattered. The rain stopped. She's walking with me toward the future. And because of that, my whole world is full of light.